Yeah, shit, forgot it. Okay, so I'm Parrot Gaming Productions. I've got a guest here called M, codename M, 007-ish kind of vibes.
Very nice. Yeah. Heck yeah.
So M does a lot of. She's posted a couple of selfies up on the interwebs, and I'm interested to ask her a bunch of dumb questions as I'm really good at. So M, do you have an introduction? Do you want to tell the people kind of who you are, what you do, or any information?
Yeah, my name is M. I'm really good at giving dumb answers, so this is going to work out just fine.
Perfect.
No, I post a lot on Reddit. I'm pretty active over there, on several different forums and or subreddits, I guess. Yeah, and if you want, you can find me. My Reddit is my own guitar hero.
Okay, cool.
Common spelling.
I think it's actually showing up in the recording in the upper left-hand corner, so people can actually see that unless it's
All
cut out
right.
there.
Awesome.
So what kind of drew me first was this the selfie that you had, where
Uh-huh.
basically you're like, I'm playing 7 Days to Die, I think is what it was. I found you, and you're in that the Nintendo outfit is what I can best, or
Yeah.
maybe a 360. I can't tell. But
Yeah.
so this is a podcast about gaming, and I love gaming. So I
Right.
guess I just want to start off with, what drew you to 7 Days to Die?
Uh, you know what? I actually am not really big into like crafting and survival games. I never honestly gave them much of a shot. I just kind of in my mind decided that I wouldn't like them. But then some of my buddies wanted to play it together as a group, so I was like, "Oh fuck, okay, fine." Started playing with them, and turns out that I really, really enjoy it. So I've been like, it's a huge time dump, like for sure. And so I've been doing that, Valheim. So it's like this whole new genre is like opened up to me, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that because I was like, you said you play Valheim, is what it is, and I was like, okay, that's crafted. That's very craft heavy.
Yeah, so that's the next. A lot of people had recommended it to me, and I was like, I won't like it. But then after 7 days, I'm like, you know what? I should give Valheim a try. So I'm playing that. Um, yeah, just exploring sort of more of the crafting survival type games that I never really got into until now. So.
I was a pretty decent fan of 7 Days to Die. I just don't like how quick the weapons break, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah, to repair them, and then once you get into like upper level weapons, you need repair kits. You can't just like repair them with wood or stone anymore. You got to like build repair kits and blah, blah, blah. And to
Yeah.
build a repair kit, you got to build the duct tape. To build the duct tape, you got to get, it's like sometimes I'll be crafting stuff and I don't even remember what the end goal is anymore. I've got these like components and I'm like, what was I doing with this? I don't even, why do I have 782 iron? Like, what was I, what was the goal with this?
That's why I play a lot of first person shooters. I'm just like, okay, I need to get 10 kills to unlock this scope, and that's all I have to worry about.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Well, I've
curious.
been playing
Hmm?
Killing Floor 2.
I've been
That's
playing. Yeah,
I love it.
I didn't think I would enjoy the Christmas theme right off the bat, but apparently it's really awesome. I guess. I like it's just weird because like I'm playing a Christmas themed map in the middle of like July, and I'm just like, what the hell, you know?
Well, just a little Christmas themed first person shooter to get you into the holiday spirit, I guess. I don't know.
It was just so weird because a friend of mine was like, "Yeah, you gotta get Killing Floor 2. It's on sale." I was like, "Okay, what is it?" She's like, "It's a massive shoot 'em up with crazy." I was like, "All right, I guess." And then you can rank up your guns. But I was just like, "We're fighting demon elves right now. That's it's like
Don't
July."
ask questions, just shoot.
Yeah, don't
No,
ask
it's
questions, just shoot.
the funny thing about Killing Floor is it actually I have like really bad like motion sickness.
Really?
And for anybody who doesn't know, they have these like I don't know, matrix things where like everything slows down and it was the jumping back and forth between like just normal game and then like Matrix mode, it was triggering my motion sickness. So I could play for like 40 minutes and then I'd be like puking, literally.
Ah,
I had to like adjust all my settings to try and, oh, it was bad.
that's horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
We got over it though. We dealt with it. But this is also why I don't think that I would be a great candidate for like VR stuff. I think that I would just, no, it's not for me.
I mean, I can handle it, but it just you get a little bit of a headache after a while because if you're so used to like just controlling the person and then you got the head movements in there, it's like why don't I just go play paintball? You know what I mean? Like
Right,
it's just
yeah.
easier.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
all right. Well, I and then Warframe, that's kind of a first person shooter, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
Tis. I like me some guns. I like to make the boom boom and the pew pew pew.
Are you excited about Battlefield 2042 at all? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I have 1,000 different games that I am currently waiting for,
Okay.
and my wallet is kind of like, girl, like maybe you should play through some of the games that you already have that you haven't touched in like months. Like, oh, it's bad. Like I have ESO that I haven't played in probably like 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel
Ugh.
that. I actually have stopped myself from doing that just simply because I can't. I think I have like 40 or 50 games in my wallet or in my back catalog, and I've played maybe 10.
Yeah, it's real bad. Those summer sales, man, they get you.
Yeah, 2.9. Like I'm not gonna. Yeah, Far Cry. What was it? 3 or no? It was 4. I forget, the one where they were on an island or whatever. But it's like yeah, Far Cry for 2.99. I was like yeah,
Hell
sure.
yeah.
I remember this
And then
game.
it sits there like, hi, remember me?
Yeah, I still haven't downloaded it. Still haven't
Yeah.
downloaded it. So I got that. All right. Well, that's yeah. That was kind of a surprise. It's interesting. Whenever I talk to people, I'm like, oh, I'm a gaming podcast. They're like, oh, I'll try to talk about gaming. It's like, no, for some reason you just can't because it's universal. That's why I love gaming so much.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'm
I.
glad that like gaming is sort of mainstream now because I feel
Uh
like I don't know how old you are, but I'm in my 30s and I feel like um growing up, like if you were a gamer, it was just like you were so ostracized. And like I do like tabletop games too, like Magic the Gathering, D&D. And oh my God, don't ever let anybody know. If it's like 2004, don't ever tell anybody that you play D&D.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that sort of there's like a, gamer uprising going on. It seems like gaming is now pretty mainstream and happy about it.
That's actually what I was literally about to ask you. Like, how do you feel about tabletops like D&D and Magic and all that stuff? So,
Amazing. Love and love 'em.
what's your go-to in D&D? I gotta ask.
Uh, so I typically am more spellcastery, although we started a campaign where I am fumbling through playing my first barbarian, and it is really, really fun. Um, Basically just being tank for the party, and it's been neat. But I my other campaign, I am a tiefling paladin with a vengeance oath, and she's pretty badass.
Okay. What's the difference between kind of that spellcaster? What's the differences for you going from that spellcaster to a tank? Because all I know is tank. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
tank it, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll always do it, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think so. The biggest thing is uh, the strategy is way different.
Mm-hmm.
Like with spell casting, you're kind of thinking about how what you're doing is going to affect other members of the party. Whereas with my barbarian, I can just like say, F it, I'm going in, and I don't have to worry as much about my strategy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, I don't want to say combat is easier, but combat, I feel like I can take more risks in combat because I'm not so worried about screwing a bigger plan up.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's why I like being a barbarian, because it's just like, I'm gonna go for XYZ. Whatever you guys want to do, go for it. I'll be over here doing my thing.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of just be like, I'm about to do something real crazy. There's a 95% chance it's not going to work. There's a 5% chance it's going to be amazing. Y'all worry about yourselves. Let me just watch. Like, it's real fun.
We'll figure it out as it goes. No worries. We'll figure it out.
This is going to be fine, guys. This will be great.
So Magic the Gathering, how hard is it to learn? Because I know I'm jumping topics here, but like, I tried.
Yeah. Okay, so MTG is like my newest thing that I've gotten into. So I don't know it very well. It is, and the person that taught me, God bless them, was like neuroatypical, and so oh gosh, that sounds terrible. Like, I'm not.
Hey,
their way of teaching probably made a lot of sense to them, but it didn't make sense to me. So it was really tough, trying to figure out. Like, they would tell me, okay, A, and then D, and I would have to try and figure out, B and C, because they didn't quite explain B and C. They just, jumped from A to D.
Yeah.
So it's been it's been frustrating, but it's really fun. I like it.
Hey, don't worry about what you say in this podcast. I've probably said 1,000 times worse as it has been. I like to go on the advice or the relationship subreddits, and I'm just like, yeah, here's my horrible here's a comment on how this needs to be done.
Some of that is just, oof. It's like, I am so glad I don't live your life, buddy. Like,
I have to assume that 75% of that is fake. That's kind of what I go with.
Yeah. You know what? My guilty pleasure is going on Am I the Asshole? AITA, for anybody who doesn't know. But I sort only by, I don't want to see those like not the asshole posts where it's like, oh no, you did. No, you're not you were. Yeah. No, I want to see the assholes. So I like specifically filter to only see the asshole posts, just so I can read these things and be like, what the fuck are you doing? But I don't know, I'd say a solid third of these posts I'm like, nah, can't, no, that didn't happen.
If you want a really fun subreddit to kind of peruse through to really see how crazy life can get, I throw this out there because I've been throwing shade at them forever now. The polyamorous subreddit, just our polyamory. I had a very negative interaction with them once, and it really pissed me off where I was trying to be an ally. But, like, some of the shit you read on there,
yeah.
You want to talk about some drama? Oh, just raining.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is just beautiful. I will take that advice to heart.
Yeah, like, I'm not shitting on anyone who is polyamorous. I think it's a fantastic thing. But, like,
I agree.
Some of the fucking drama.
I couldn't do it, but hey.
Some of the fucking drama y'all got on there, dude. Come down for a minute. Come down to planet Earth and let's see what you got for a second. All right, so we're gonna dive right into what it is, because I know we could probably talk in for forever about it.
All right.
I like your profile is a super random mix.
Yeah, it's a little eclectic.
Well, like, it's really cool because you have this amazing calligraphy. Where I'm like, that's either a computer or she did that, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, here's a cake, and it's like, now I'm hungry, and then you're like, and then there's just a selfie where it's like, hey, got my hair dyed yesterday. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it bounces. So run me through kind of how all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna start posting my face all over Reddit.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I don't even remember how I started with that. I will say this. I have been on Reddit for, Well, on my main account, my own Guitar Hero, I have been using that account for 7 years,
Okay.
and I have been lurking on Reddit for longer. Um, but so I wasn't always posting stuff that
Mm-hmm.
was quite as personal. Um, I'm not sh I honestly can't even remember um, what started it. Uh, but now I do it quite frequently.
Okay. So when you uh is it because of is it because it's a hit of dopamine with some of the stuff that you get,
Mm.
kind of like it makes you feel pretty good, or what's the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that. Um, I can say that just for me personally. I'm not there. There's so many different reasons that people will post these kind of pictures on Reddit, especially now with OnlyFans and everything like that. So I definitely don't want to try and say that my experience is, standard or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for me, I've always been, ever since I was a kid, I've always been somebody who sort of takes their self-worth from other people. So, for example, if I got an A on a test, I wasn't so much proud about getting an A. I was proud when my parents were proud that I got an A. Like I've just always been that kind of person that like seeks validation from other people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, that personality trait in me. And then also, growing up in the MySpace generation, um, like I mentioned before, I'm in my 30s. When I was like a teenager, a tween and a teen, um, this was back when Facebook, you needed a college email to have a Facebook account back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, in the very, very early days of Facebook, you had to have a college email to create an account. So obviously my friends and I, we couldn't, have Facebook, but we had MySpace. And, it was I really think like the whole selfie thing took off with MySpace because you had these like MySpace trains where you would like promote yourself and other people, and even your friends list was just like your
Your top
top.
10 or whatever, top
Yeah,
5.
but
Yeah.
it would display the pictures. So like it was all like this very, very visual focused. Um, and even the concept of a selfie was relative, it was that like those awkward like bathroom mirror selfies because nobody had your camera couldn't flip, so
Yeah.
um yeah, so I don't know. I guess it was maybe just the perfect storm of my specific personality and also the culture that I grew up in.
It's because I know I remember watching a documentary on Facebook, and I remember the whole Facebook build to everything. And I'm 34, so I
Mhm.
do remember MySpace, but I don't remember Facebook ever going. You need a college thing, and it's like, well, I joined the military Facebook. I don't have a college email. All I remember is MySpace was like dead one day, and someone's like, "Yeah, dude, we're all on Facebook." And it's like, "Oh, okay, I'll go do Facebook
Yeah,
then." So like
yeah.
that's and I do remember the whole selfie generation
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
They
for
had to
those of
be
you who are
way up
watching.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense where you get because like I get a lot of happiness if like a guest of mine is happy, I'm gonna feed off of that hardcore,
Sure. Yeah.
if I've had dead guests and I've had lively guests, and so I really understand where you're like she's having fun, I'm having fun, he's having fun, I'm having fun, so that makes sense. um I didn't know that you had an OnlyFans account until I just scrolled through like half of your history here.
Yeah,
Um,
I did.
you
Um,
did.
for like, I want to say it was like a month and a half.
Okay.
Um, and I don't use it anymore. I don't post on it.
It's
So
just dumb.
I, you know, um, there are a lot of different things about that OnlyFans. Um, the the biggest thing was that it just didn't. it turns out that that's just not what I want to do. Like I don't personally have anything wrong, or like I don't have a problem with sex work. I think it's valid. I think it's legitimate. I think it fills a need in society, but I just didn't feel great doing it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, and the other thing was I was becoming, because I was charging people. Now, I wasn't charging a whole lot. It was $6.66
Ah,
was what I, yeah, obviously. So it wasn't like a whole lot, but just the idea that I was charging anything, I started to become hyper critical of myself, because I was going, do I have a face that's worth money? Do I have a body that's worth money? I just sort of got into like a really negative headspace where I was very down on myself. And I just felt that even though these are people that are willingly pay, like nobody's holding a gun to their head,
yeah.
or at least I hope not. I don't know about your home life, but I just really started feeling like I didn't deserve it. Um, so I just kind of let it go inactive. So
Thank you for sharing that. I know that it sounds like that was a little hard to say, and you could have totally passed on it. I appreciate that more than you know. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see what I saw while scrolling through here. So that because it was just weird. I'm just scrolling and I'm like, oh, well,
oh
there's the, well, here's an amazing trend that I find because like I'm banned from commenting on selfies because I was like, hey, that doesn't belong here. My idea of a selfie is old school. You know, it's like the
hmm
selfie or whatever. So
yeah.
like I have an idea of a selfie and I made a comment, I got banned. I deserve it. I'm fine with that. And I've noticed that when I find people when I was going through my selfie phase where it's like I really want to talk to these people who are doing selfies,
hmm
that's where I got the 3 OnlyFans interviews. They were posting selfies. I was like, hey, I'd really like to talk to you. And they're like, hey, do you know what I'm about? And I'm like, oh, you have an OnlyFans account? Oh, yeah, okay. So a lot of the people where I'm like, you look like you could be an interesting person to talk to, I find it a lot where they have an OnlyFans. So
Yeah.
it would just be, I guess, tradition that you had one.
I mean,
So,
I just feel like there was a time when it just like it was like, yeah, OnlyFans, and then it just boom exploded, and everybody was doing OnlyFans, and I was like, okay, I'll hop on this bandwagon. I had just had major surgery, and I couldn't work, because it was, I needed like 6 months to a year to heal. I mean, it was major
wow.
surgery, yeah. Um, but because I'm a per diem employee at my job at the time, I didn't qualify for, what's it called?
Workman's comp or
Not workman's comp, but
FMLA.
right. So
Yeah.
I couldn't take FMLA, because I was per diem. So I was like, shit, I I need money. Like, I am post-surgical. I can't work. It is just so, this whole OnlyFans thing was happening. I'm like, maybe I should try it. I've had people in the past be like, do you have an OnlyFans? And I'd always be like, no, I'm just doing this for fun. And so I was like, maybe I should do it. But turns out it's not for me.
Yeah, I've heard like it's interesting because like I'll see people be like, "Oh, I'm top 1%," and then I did a nice little deep dive because I got interested about the figures, and it's like, wow, so like you have to really be somebody who's like top tier to even really make anything. You,
Well, that's the thing. Like, the market was really saturated.
yeah,
And what you had were these, like, basically professional or semi-professional porn stars that have incredible cameras, incredible lighting setups. Like, like, literally just taking pictures with my Galaxy, like, I can't compete with that. And then in order to get to like sort of like the upper echelon of OnlyFans, what I found out in my short foray is that, you have to start doing collaborations with some of the other girls that are above you. And, like, I live in bumfuck Pennsylvania. I'm not, who am I going to collab with? Like, the cows, the corn? Like, so I was like, you know what, this is a whole, like, if you really want to get there, you got to make it your career, and I just wasn't willing to do that. So it just, yeah.
Yeah, no,
It
that,
was interesting. I mean, it was a fun, exciting thing, and I can say I tried it.
yeah. That's interesting that you say that, just because like I wouldn't expect that it would be something like that, you know. I mean, I kind of understand, you know, the collaborations, like, oh hey, like when I team up with somebody else, if they've got a podcast, I'm like, dude, I'll come on if you want to talk with me, or
Right.
like if you got a podcast, that's why I throw up the little banners around everybody, because it's like, hey, this is their stuff, you know.
Hmm.
The few people that listen to me would be more than happy to probably listen to somebody else that I got. So
Sure.
um, so the OnlyFans is, man, that's gone. Um,
Yeah.
what drives you to really post a selfie then? To is it, yeah? Go ahead and run away with it.
Um, so, we kind of touched on the dopamine. I do have that sort of validation need. I will say that generally, um, I kind of tend to think that we as a society downplay our need to be um, approved of by other people.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do talk about that, it's kind of typically it has like a negative connotation. You often have like, oh, so and so is just fishing for compliments, or that sort of thing. Um, and I do think it sort of stems from this American, this hyper American, individual, like this rugged individualism that we seem to have, you know, ingrained into the fabric of American society, where you should be self-sufficient and go your own way and everything like that. And that's all well and good. It makes for good Western films, but
Yeah.
makes for good John Wayne movies. But the reality is that we are social creatures. We do have needs to feel validated, to be accepted, to be approved of, to know that we belong to a certain group. And I don't necessarily think that that's such a bad thing. So, um, sometimes I'll have somebody go, they'll look at one of my pictures and like, oh, she's fishing for compliments, or she just wants attention. And my response to that is, you're correct. I do want attention. And also, I don't think that we should necessarily feel bad for acknowledging that this is like a very real human need. Um, I have met a lot of people who just like message me out of the blue and say that um, seeing me post and knowing that, I'm not looking for money, I'm not looking for a sugar daddy or something like that. I'm not like, here's my Amazon wish list, buy me something, like, um, they have told me that like it cheers them up. Just like seeing a picture from me, or like I'll post something and someone will be like, "Oh my gosh, you changed your hair. You're trying out a different style. It looks great. Like I haven't seen you post in a while. I missed you." Like stuff like that. You develop sort of a strangely wholesome relationship, like this sort of like very wholesome parasocial relationship with other people who maybe don't often feel great about themselves. And you can make each other feel good. And I love that.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
The way
awesome.
I see it is we live in a world that makes it very easy for us to be unkind to each other. We love to stratify each other. We're encouraged to stratify. We're encouraged to, um, find differences, or I just think that if I if I do something and it feels good to me, but it also brings positivity, even if it's just for half a second while somebody looks at a post on Reddit. If I can make somebody smile for 723 seconds in an otherwise crappy day, and it's not hurting anybody, I say, why not? I think we need more kindness and more feel good things in this world.
This is now the second interview I've had where it's gone really deep, and I'm uncomfortable. No, it's fine. It's fine.
You were like, oh, this girl was supposed to talk about selfies on Reddit. What the fuck?
Well, I interviewed so there's this girl who did a webcomic, and like her boyfriend is Australian, but he's got a really like luscious British accent, and I'm like, I have to talk to you. And
Right.
and then we did a podcast, and like I'm asking like these advice questions, and I'm I'm giving my advice, but I'm trying to be a little funny with it, just kind of be
Yeah.
like, because anybody can be like, oh, is it bad? Like you kind of got to make it interesting. And he's giving me this answer that, like, every single time he's giving me the answers like you, and I'm like, dude, like this is great, I love it, but like I want to get out of the feels, like I don't need to feel what you just, like,
Yeah.
come on, man, I want to giggle a little bit.
Right.
So, like, I feel bad now because, like, I have a couple questions and I want to be like, well, and that just kind of ruined that wholesome moment. But god damn.
Hey, go for it. Ruin my whole moment.
Okay, so with some of the photos, I have to ask, like, do you curate them when posting in specific subreddits? Like, for instance, the Am I Hot one, where I saw that the zipper of the workout uniform was zipped quite lowly, and it's just like, why would it be that low for like?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I try, so I do try to ride that fine line. Obviously, like I know what the people that are following me, I know what they're looking for. So I, definitely want to, go a little something, something. But I also don't want to be that obnoxious. I saw this one account, very lovely girl, but she had posted the same post to like literally 30 different subreddits, and the title was something like, somebody told me I'm ugly, so I'm posting this because I want to prove they're, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? That's gonna piss people off, so like when it's so obviously fabricated,
Hmm.
um I don't know, I try to ride that line where it's like a little something something, but not like obnoxiously, like.
That's half the reason why you were talking to me earlier about you've never done a podcast before. That's half the reason why I choose people like yourself. Because I can find that account where it's like, oh, that's professional, and I go on their profile and I'm having to scroll, and it's just like the same photo,
Yeah.
hundreds of times, and it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, this person obviously they have an agenda here. Whereas, the people that I find, they maybe post the same photo to 3 or 4 different subreddits, but then they move on with their life.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, this fits in Bikini Bottom and this and that and the third, and it's like,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
cool. I was actually referencing SpongeBob, not okay. It was SpongeBob.
Get your mind out of the underwater gutter, folks.
Fucking whatever. That was just too perfect. That was so okay. So I'm gonna make an assumption here, and I hope my
Okay.
assumption is correct. How does
I
your
will tell
significant How does your significant other feel about this?
You know, he is a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so for example, the OnlyFans. We had a really great conversation. I will say that he is amazing. He is the love of my life. Um, and we are extremely open with each other. Both of us are in recovery. And so we kind of live with just absolute honesty. It's, part of our programs. And so we sat down and we just really hashed everything out. And he basically said, like, look, I am a progressive person. I'm a liberal person. I believe that sex work is fine. I don't have a problem with it. I say all these things in my head, but then when it's my girlfriend, I can't help but feel different.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and I know that that's a contradiction, but it's also the truth. So we were really, really honest about how each other felt. What we thought about things versus how we also felt. And I will say that he's really cool with it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I find a lot of time. There was a French gal that I interviewed who was legitimately from France, and she spoke amazing English, and she had started her OnlyFans because people were willing to pay, and it was funny because her boyfriend was like, "Dude, I have you. They're paying for you. Whatever," and he just went
That's
back to video
that's
gaming.
exactly, he said almost verbatim. He said almost verbatim. He's like, they get to see pictures, but I get the real deal at the end of the day. So that's funny.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I'm cooking her dinner. What are you doing besides shoveling money? Like okay,
Right. Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah. I mean, and of course it's not, I don't even have the OnlyFans anymore, but no, everything is cool. We have mostly jokingly thought of doing like a couple's OnlyFans. Like, have you ever seen like where they don't show their faces? You only
Yeah.
see from the neck down. So,
Uh,
but it's mostly joking.
there was
Most.
I remember when I learned about porn on the internet in the military, and there was this one
Oh man.
there yeah, go ahead and light up. There's this one that I was like, I like that. That's more down to earth, and that's why I like it. That's why I think the OnlyFans and a lot of what's on Reddit honestly is great because it's real people, and you can be like, I know that person. Like they have this $600 DSLR or whatever, and I'm just like, let's take it back a notch. And
Yeah.
it was funny because like he never showed his face, but it was because he was still active duty military. And I was like, no, that might be a bad thing. It might be bad juju if that ever got out.
Yeah.
But I was like, but your wife is showing her face. Does she just hide on base or something like that? So it was just kind of like, I was like, that's interesting. All right.
That's when you move off
Yeah, that's why you
base.
move off base. All right. So with Reddit, what's something that you dislike about when you post on there? I mean, obviously you're getting that validation. You're getting a lot of good stuff that you like, and
Hmm.
I like it when I get upvotes on a post. It makes me feel all giggly
Yeah.
inside.
Sure.
What's something that you could change about the what you post on there and some of the responses or any feedback that you get?
I really don't think that I would change much. People are typically really supportive. Um, and I don't for a second believe that that's because I just happen to be exceedingly, exceptionally beautiful or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has more to do with the nature of what the mods and people have different opinions on Reddit mods, but I
Mm-hmm.
think generally when you compare Reddit to some other forums, I think there is typically a spirit of support, and sort of camaraderie among Redditors, which I think is really awesome. So I mostly get positive stuff. I will have occasionally somebody who, um, is just obviously trolling or trying to bait or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. The guy posted like a makeup free selfie, and somebody was like, well, you need it. It's like, ouch,
I'm
ouch.
actually looking at that because I was like, I want to find those comments that I'm looking at it. Um, Yeah, and like I'm trying to find something on here. I think it was your most recent one, and I'm not finding the typical responses I find. Well, okay, here we go. Mr. Vegetable Potato, gorgeous fire emoji, heart emoji. It's like, all right, like I get where you're coming from, but like, you can kind of tell when someone posts something like that, like beautiful, the heart eye emoji exploding, and you're just like, okay, bro, like we get it. Like just give your upvote and move on. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. Like here we go. Like to hike. Is like no makeup needed. So many guys like natural beauty look. Like okay, that's a good statement for this. But yeah, like like I've gone on some of those selfies, and you're like, you look at some of the shit people post, and you're like, dude.
You know what? I get a lot of interesting DMs, as you can imagine. Actually, my boyfriend and I sometimes will read them together just because we want to see some of the stuff that people. Um, but I guess the one thing that I would say is that I have gotten some DMs from people who, it's like you're trying to find your soulmate from a girl that posted a selfie. Like, I don't know how well that's going to work out for you. You might be setting yourself up for some failure there. Like, I will, and it makes me feel sad every time that I get like this, somebody will basically pour their heart out, and you can just tell that they're hoping
Mm-hmm.
that there's something there, that there could be something there, and it kind of breaks my heart sometimes.
Welcome to online dating, Em. It's good to have you
Yeah.
back in the future. It's a fine line between that's a cool little that's a cool little one liner that you tossed me, and then some like I'm a talker. Like I have a podcast for a reason. Look, I talk to people on the phones all day. I want to have a conversation I would like to have every once in a while. And so when someone talks to me, I might send you like a paragraph, like it's just who I am. That's how I talk.
Yeah.
And don't even let me use text to speak. Don't ever let me do that. But like, it's hard and it sucks. Who was it? I think Joe Rogan actually interviewed a comedian. I think her name was like Sarah something, not Sarah Silverman, but she does a lot
The
of
other Sarah.
yeah, the other Sarah, but
The other one.
she's a really good looking comedian and she's funny as fuck. Like, and I have a weird sense of comedy, but like she'll tell jokes, she'll tell stories on the podcast that they go on everyone's podcast and they do the rounds, and she'll get those DMs or she'll get like those letters where someone is just like, but they know her so intimately from all the podcasts and everything else like that. And she's like, I have this letter that you wrote me today, and that's it.
Right.
I have this page and a half to go off of. It's fucking weird, a little scary.
There's a little, I mean, the parasocial thing is it's kind of weird. Um, something that I try to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like even in the comments, even when somebody will leave like the odd mean comment or something like that, I typically I don't like respond in a bitchy way, or like I try to kind of like get people laughing and like show that I don't take myself too seriously. I like to try and show a little bit of my personality. And so I have people that follow me on various social media that feel like they know a lot about me
Mm-hmm.
and will talk to me as if, we are really, really close.
Yep.
And it's like, I literally don't know you from Adam. Like, you are a name. Like,
Nikki Glasser. That's the comedian, Nikki Glasser.
I think I've heard of her.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. She's you would say she's very pro sex work. She's got a lot of sex jokes that are actually really funny. I'm weird about that kind of stuff, like in movies. And so yeah, I've told everybody 1,000 times how I feel about that stuff. But yeah, Nikki Glasser. Nikki Glasser
Okay.
is a comedian. Sorry.
I'll write that down.
Nikkiglaser.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm curious now. Pretty alt girls. I want to
Yeah.
say. So it doesn't really have. It just says no nudity. Nice, safe for work sub for pretty alt girls. Like, with how you were talking about in today's society, so much has changed. Like, I'm looking at the very first post in here by a redhead who doesn't really fit what I would consider an alt girl. But then again, I'm coming from like when Suicide Girls were like, that's that's taboo.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what does it mean to be an alt girl to Agent M?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, I think so. Being that we are of the MySpace generation, I was like really big into the scene kids thing. I was
Okay.
gonna say the scene, but
The
yeah.
seats.
No,
Okay.
I was like a huge scene kid, emo, like that. Yeah.
The blunder years.
Yeah, mm, we don't talk about that. If you knew me back then, no, you didn't. Um, but yeah, so I guess I've always been really into more of like alternative aesthetics, anything that's just has a little bit of an edge to it. Um, Now, I will say that things for sure have changed as to what is considered alt these
Mm-hmm.
days. Because back then, it was the Suicide Girls. Today, it's more of like the I have a Tumblr and I cry listening to um, music on a Saturday night, sitting in my room on my Tumblr, and that's what an alt girl is now. I feel like. Um,
Okay. Stop reading my mind. It's Reddit, not Tumblr, and I'm crying to death metal. So please stop doing that. Please
okay.
stop attacking me personally here. But continue.
Do you? I'm sorry. Do you want to be an alt girl? You can be an alt girl if you want.
I would make a very
I
ugly
will
woman.
make you an honorary alt girl. There you go.
I'm a very ugly man as it is. Come on, you think I'd make a pretty woman? I'm furry as fuck. I'm a teddy bear. All right, I can. That's
Listen, there's somebody out there for everybody. I learned that on OnlyFans.
we're searching and it's not going good. Like I'm talking. Now it's funny because you say about the paying somebody and like finding your like or doing a. I have a story if you want to hear it later on, but anyway, I've told it kind of before, but like there is somebody out there for me, and it is. I'm thinking they might not exist, or they might have previously existed but don't anymore. We're trying though. We're trying. So okay, so you were a blunder child of
Yeah.
of the emo years, and then
Oh
you.
yeah, for sure.
So now continue. I apologize.
No, I think that alt has just taken on a totally different connotation. I think that alt has like expanded to include sort of like the e-girl aesthetic, like Belle
Belle
Dauphine.
Delphine. Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of aesthetic is considered alt. You have like cottagecore alt, which is just basically
Cottagecore.
cottagecore.
You're gonna have to expound upon that.
I don't know if I can, sir.
Okay, well, keep.
Cottagecore is like, I don't know. It's like e-girl meets Little House on the Prairie. I don't know, but like it just.
keep I'm reading an article here from
Yeah.
architecturaldigest.com.
Oh no. Oh
Okay,
no.
okay. What
Not
is
Architectural Digest.
what the fuck even is this?
I don't know, but it's alt now.
Like, is this like okay, okay. Yeah, so this is dressing up in the Renaissance, living out every fantasy I've ever wanted to, going back into the 1600s and becoming a knight. No, that's so dope. That's dope
Yeah,
as fuck.
right. So,
Like, that's so cool. How did I not know? See, we call this Renaissance, just a Renaissance
yeah, it's
cosplay or
just
something like that.
Renfest.
Yeah.
It's just Renfest.
God, that's
It's
like.
IRL Renfest. But yeah, no. So I think alt has changed to just incorporate like this really broad swath of people. I do tend to like I'll look and I'll see what some of the like what posts are trending, like what aesthetics people seem to be into, and um, try to sort of put my own spin on that. Um,
I gotcha.
yeah.
Nice. Curious though, because your headphones. I love the cat ears. I think they're dope. Are they anything other than just LED lights on top?
No,
No. Okay. All
nah,
right.
unfortunately.
How much were they? And I can tell that they're razors, right?
They are. They were not bad. They're surprisingly they're not fantastic quality. They just look cool. Um,
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't even know. I want to say about like $100.
Yeah, I'll stick with my Hyperclad X2s. Maybe I'll make some cat ears or something like that. I think that would be cool. Speaking of that, do you know a Twitcher by the name of Finster at all?
No, I don't think so.
So Finster, I think he. So it's interesting because we're talking about alt girls. He lost a bet and had to cross dress, and so he decided to go all out. And he cross dressed. He had his girlfriend do his makeup, get like
Oh,
dressed.
nice.
He's decked to the nines, and now like that's his thing on Twitch. He and
That's amazing.
he calls himself a dude. He does call him straight, but like he's like I would highly encourage you to look up Finster. It's like F1 and then whatever. You'll find him.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because like he looks hot. Like you're like you could
Yeah.
get a girl and then you hear like my voice come out of him and you're like, "Hold up a second. Hold up."
Yeah,
So,
like I mean, that's another thing.
mhm.
Femboys are, having a moment right now.
Never understood the different like there's so like it's I feel like it's heavy metal. Like there's new metal, there's and you're
Right.
like
Yeah, yeah.
a femboy could be like a very effeminate woman. It could be a crossdresser. It could be this, and it's just like I don't like all the terminology for one simple reason. I can't keep the fuck up.
No, I can't. I really am like being like, yeah, no, I'm fucking getting old. Like I don't know. Look, it took me forever just to figure out what the hell cottagecore was. Like, don't be throwing femboys at me.
Yeah,
But no, I mean,
yeah.
hey,
I,
I actually recently got contacted by a straight femboy,
okay.
and I was like, "Oh, this is new. I didn't know this was a thing." But I mean, apparently it's straight up just it's not even a sexuality, it's just a straight up aesthetic. So,
So it's just he dresses that way, and that's
yeah.
yeah. I can feel that. I wear a kilt every once in a while, so I understand.
You were cottagecore all along, and you didn't even. The real cottagecore are the kilts we wore along the way.
On that note, that's the end of the podcast, everybody. It's great to know. I did have one final a couple final questions here. Do you see yourself continuing to post selfies in the future? Is that something that you really want to do? Like continue with the path of posting selfies?
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Okay.
I will say that I am in the healthcare field. So it's always a little bit like, it's always scary because, healthcare workers are sometimes held to like a higher standard, and like you have to have basically a squeaky clean, um, online persona. So I do try really, really hard to keep that in mind and keep that separated from my, IRL social media. But yeah, I don't see why not.
I think it's stupid. That whole everything is stupid. Like when they're like, principal finds teachers got OnlyFans. First off,
Right.
how the fuck did you find that? Like,
Yeah.
I make no bones about where I peruse in Reddit. I am everywhere. I'll be looking
Uh-huh.
at parrots, and then I'll be like, oh, look at this beautiful naked lady. Oh, look at this dude. Oh, great. Let's go back to Escape from Tarkov. Like, I
Right.
jump all over. There are no bones about what I do. So like, if a principal of like a Christian school is like, found out you're on OnlyFans, how the fuck did you find out? What were you doing, mister?
Right.
Like that. Like I never realized why a lot of people don't just rally behind and be like, sir, how did you find out? Oh, you
Yeah,
were browsing
exactly.
OnlyFans? Okay. And why are you not, why are you not slapped on the wrist for the same? It's dumb. All right. Well,
I think another thing is too, like I like turning 30, like I really started to be like, wow, I am not young anymore. Like, and it's funny because, the people who are in their 70s will be like, oh, you're young. And it's like, yes, okay, yes, I'm young, but I'm not as young as I was when I was young.
Yeah.
Now I'm just youngish. So I guess there's I'm not sure how it is for men, but I know a lot of women, like we worry about, am I no longer attractive? Am I past my prime? Am I, all that kind of stuff. So it is nice to just be like, okay, I still got it somewhat.
well, here's my question. Why does it matter what everybody else thinks? Out of curiosity, why does it matter?
I don't know. That's the million dollar question. If I could care less about what other people think, I'd be in a great position. But like I said, ever since I was a kid, I've always been um, really hyper aware of what other people thought about me, what other people said about me. Maybe I grew up overweight and I was actually morbidly obese at one point in my life, and I've
Oh,
lost a ton of weight. And I was also like the only Jewish kid in my school. Um, so I was a nerd. Before being a geek was a cool thing.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I was just bullied really, really badly. So I was constantly, every time I did something in my mind, I'm thinking, is this going to make things worse for me? Is this something that the other kids are going to? Is this going to be another thing that they're going to pile on, you know? So I was always just worried about how people perceived me.
You would have loved to switch places with me growing up. I'm a chunky individual. I'm like 230 now that I'm no longer working in a cheese factory. So, but I was unknown all through high school. Like, I mean, I had a little bit because like in Wisconsin, we're all big cheese fans. Everyone's a little bit bigger in Wisconsin.
Sure.
But like, I my parents got divorced and I just started moving around everywhere. And every year, nobody knew me. It was like I was
Hmm.
starting fresh, and then people would kind of get to know me, and then boop, I'm off somewhere else. So it was kind of
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah.
That cat
I
better get up there, or I'm gonna be
I,
pissed.
come here. Come
Let's see
here,
the cat.
stupid.
This
Come
podcast
here.
is 90% audio. Let's see the cat.
I gotta pay the cat tax. Oh, come here.
Just grab the cat. There you go.
Oh, I'm good in him. This is
Oh,
Littlefoot.
Littlefoot is a dark ball of anger. It looks like.
He is. He doesn't know what he is. He's a mess. But yeah, no, I remember one time I was crying to my mom because I'd been made fun of or something, and I was crying about my weight and everything, and I was like, um, I don't even want to be skinny. I was like, I just want to be normal. I want to be a weight that when I walk down the street, I don't want people to look at me. I want to just blend in like everybody else. And I finally took me long enough, but I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm just average. All I ever wanted to be was just average.
Well, I would say that your significant other probably has a different definition of what you are because they are obviously with you for reasons beyond our understanding. But that's one thing that's always kind of struck me as interesting is that some people like to ride that just how can I be what's that just how can I go undetected? It's
Hmm.
astonishing. It is amazing to just walk through a mall, a sea of people, and just nobody knows. It's so
Yeah.
great. If the military's taught me two really cool things, it's number one, how to take shit and roll with it, and number two, how to just blend in with the crowd, which is fantastic. So,
What branch were you?
Air Force, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you were one of the smart boys.
No, because I asked to be a cop in the Air Force.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because my mom would be like, "Oh, it was my son from the Air Force calling me while he's deployed." And everyone's like, "Oh, is he a pilot?" And my mom's like, "No, he's a cop." It's like there are more jobs in the Air Force than just pilots. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was fun. But one I did have a random question that I remember now. Belle Delphine, do you know much about her at all?
I mean, I know the
The
gist. I
gist.
know some of the
Okay.
controversies that she's, been involved in. And
Because you had mentioned her, and I was like, she's a fucking genius businesswoman, isn't she?
I agree. The whole bathwater thing, like, okay.
People tested it to see if she actually took a bath in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's so
no, it was
insane.
for science. Never underestimate the power of people on the internet.
Well, I know the way she did it, but that's a whole nother I understand how she did it, and that's a whole other podcast to talk about. But Agent M, do you have anything you want to throw out into the world? Let the people know what's going on. Say anything.
You know what? I want the people to be happy. I want the people to be good to each other, be good to yourselves. Do something that makes you smile, especially if it makes somebody else smile. And don't take yourself too seriously. And go fucking play 7 Days to Die. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, Agent M, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a joy.
I know that you said you were going through recovery. I know how alcohol. I grew up in a bar, so I kind of know what that's all about. So I want to extend a hand and say I hope that everything continues to go the path it does. I hope you and your
Thank you.
significant other rise
Thank you.
above it, and continue to be awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. If you want to talk again, I'd be happy to have you on if you wanted.
I will come on any damn day.
Now, I've been looking to have 3 people on a podcast for a change because I usually only interview one other person. So if your significant other says he wants to come on maybe for another episode, it'd be dope to have 2 people. So,
All right.
all right. Well, thank you very much. I'll let you know a little after this what's going on. So just hang tight, okay?
All right. Thanks.
For everybody else that is watching, I actually interviewed somebody who did weight loss, who lost a bunch of weight and is kind of on a fasting journey. I thought, what a perfect time. She'd mentioned weight loss. Let's go ahead and talk to somebody who's currently fasting. It's about a 20-minute conversation, just kind of finish everything up. So we're going to go back in time. I love your faces, everyone. Talk to you later. Hey, welcome to a mini little segment here on Parrot Gaming Productions, where usually I know we talk about video gaming and internet stuff that I found. Well, I found a gentleman who talks a little bit about intermittent fasting and just kind of his weight loss journey. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone on here? You know, let them know who you are, where they can find you, and all the good stuff real quick.
Yeah, hi. My name is Daniel. You can find me at fastingdice.com. Basically, I've lost 120 pounds with intermittent fasting in about 9 months, and it's really changed my life, and I'm very excited about it.
So, Daniel, I know you kind of answered this in my pre-questionnaire where I kind of screen all my guests here. So
Yeah.
you said you had just kind of a little bit of background here. You had a medical issue where the doctors basically were like, "Hey, this is what's up." So, once you kind of run us through, where you started and how you got to intermittent fasting to be, this is okay, I can rock and roll with this. This is how I can start losing the weight.
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, I had I was checked into the hospital. I had gained a bunch of weight just out of nowhere, like within a month. And then on top of that, my lips were starting to turn blue. And so, that was worrisome. I was having trouble breathing. Ends up, I had blood clots in my lungs and in my right leg. And so, they checked me in at noon. By 6 o'clock, I was having surgery to remove the clots in my lungs. They did some really weird thing where they put a really long needle in my neck and it reached into my lungs to clear out the blood clots there.
Interesting.
And then they had to leave that needle in there for 24 hours. Crazy thing.
So why do they have to leave it in for 24 hours?
It was part of a drip to slowly release blood clot busting medication.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. It was really funny when they finally took it out in the ICU because the nurse is like, "Hey, we're going to remove that." I'm like, "Oh, are you guys going to knock me out again?" She goes, "No," and then just like rips it out. And so like now I know how checking the oil feels.
Yeah. I don't think that would feel very good at all.
Well, it didn't hurt, but like you could feel it the whole way through, and that was.
I didn't need to feel that. I didn't need to feel that at all, man.
Yeah, I just gave a lot of people the willies, huh?
Yeah, man. So they basically kind of checked you in and said, "Oh, snap, crackle, pop, we got to take care of this."
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, I had been born with a defective heart, so like I was fine. Like I wasn't on any medications or anything like that, but it wasn't the normal style heart. So with this new situation, it made that worse.
Okay.
So even after dealing with the clots, which was amazing because just one blood clot in your lung, they told me there's a 20% chance of survival, and I had multiple.
Damn.
So yeah, so like it really is a miracle I'm here, and that's kind of crazy to say.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, especially, I mean, if one blood clot is 20%, and then you just kind of, you just add that up, maths is scary sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And honestly, I don't know how true that is. That's just what they told me.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So what was
Uh,
the next step after you got your oil checked?
yeah. So I was in the hospital for a month. Then I got released, and then after a month of being released, I still wasn't doing too well, and I had to go back in for another month. And yeah, and this time it wasn't the blood clots, it was because the blood clots had made my heart so much worse. So
Okay.
we now had to take care of the heart. And that's basically been the big issue now. My blood work has been great, but the heart is the thing to fix, and that I'm happy to say has gotten better and better.
That's good. So
Yeah.
to be checked in for a month at the hospital, where is the month just because of the heart that you had, or was this one of those? This is a standard operating procedure where we want to make sure you're a-okay for the next 30 to 60 days or something.
Well, for the first round, with everything that was wrong with me, I just needed so much observation because I was on a razor's edge either way.
Oh, okay.
Literally 3 weeks of that month, I was in what they call an end of life room, and I didn't even know it at the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
like
Okay.
yeah. I just thought I got a really nice room because it was like huge and there was tons of furniture, so like everybody could hang out pretty easily. And I was like, "Oh, this is really nice. That's cool."
Well,
And then I found out later.
well, I mean, yeah, no, you definitely, because I know there's stories where like people, survivors of massive incidents are like, they just like, all right, I'm done, and then they just die. They're
Hmm.
like, nope, forget it, I'm done. So, no, that's probably a good idea that they're like, hey, we had a nice open room that we could give you, blah 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 blah, and then after you survive, they're like, hey, no, this was a death room.
Yeah, this is how
Jesus,
bad it was. Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
All right, so you went back to the hospital twice for observation. The heart's starting to get better. What kind of led you to find that intermittent fasting was like your go-to? Like what did you try? What were your learning experiences? I don't want to call them failures, but what were your learning experiences kind of that led up to the intermittent fasting being a good idea?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them failures either. You got to find what works for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in the hospital, they basically told me that if I don't lose weight, get down to a healthy weight, I would be dead in 5 years. Um, and that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So I searched like a madman to find anything I could to see what would work. I looked at, your typical stuff: calorie deficient diet, Mediterranean, Atkins, you name it. I tried it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just did not work for me. And it was very difficult and very discouraging because I also had literally a noose around my neck,
Yeah.
right? Every month that it didn't work, I'm getting closer to that deadline and I'm not hitting it, and that hurts, right? So
When you were trying these, because I know like it's interesting because like I've been on antidepressant medication, and I know
mhm.
that with basically anything medical, what is it, like 3 weeks or like 4 weeks, and you develop a res oh, what's that stupid word, um you develop a
It's like your body adjusts to it.
yeah, you develop a routine. There we go. I
Yeah.
can speak words. So I know that it takes a little while to develop that routine. When you said you were trying these, like the Atkins, the Mediterranean, like how long were you giving them before you're like, all right, this is no bueno. This is not working at all.
Oh, I would go at least 3 months at a time,
Okay.
maybe up to six. It just really depend. Um, I even looked at weight loss surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things they had me do uh, during in like the prep work for it was they had me go on a liquid only diet for a month
Yep.
and just drink protein shakes. And mentally I thought, oh, that's going to be really really tough. But I did it, and it was fine, and it wasn't like I never felt weak, and I felt fine,
Yeah.
and and that's what made me go like, huh, what else is out there?
Okay. Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
makes
and from
sense.
there I really got into fasting. Like I'd heard about it before, but then that's what made me go like, okay, let's go this route, you
Yeah.
know?
Did the weight loss surgery like come up as a hey, this is kind of like a last resort, or was this something that you were like, hey, let's try it, and then well, no, this intermittent fasting is kind of working out for me. Let's rock and roll with that instead.
Well, so one of the things that really kind of made me leery about the weight loss surgery, like I knew like that would be a last resort, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've had family members who have had that surgery like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and they have since gained all their weight back.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you big into the YouTube scene?
A little bit,
A little
yeah.
bit. Yeah. There's a channel that I follow called PKA.
Mhm.
It's this huge podcast, and one of the guys that was a co-host of it, his name is Wings of Redemption. It's a
Mhm.
very interesting character online. He actually got the weight loss surgery. He got the surgery, and within I think it was like 4 or 5 months, he had actually stopped losing weight, and then like 6 months into it, 6 or 8 months into it, he actually beat the surgery.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so that I mean, is it just because they're not sticking to it, or was it just a whole bunch of multitude of factors that just over time just it kind of comes back if you're not careful?
So in my previous life, I was for a while I was a journalist,
Mm-hmm.
and so I do a lot of research whenever I dive into anything,
Yeah.
right? And so what I found was that weight loss surgery is absolutely successful for some people, but the percentages is not as high as you would think,
Mm.
and there's not really an accurate number to it. So it's hard to say exactly like how effective it is.
Okay.
And you're right. If you don't if you don't get past the mental of it and stop your bad habits and stop your triggers, you're gonna beat the surgery. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
And
I feel that. Like, I'm 34. I should not be having energy drinks and staying up late. But last night, 3 a.m., there I was,
Mhm.
playing a video game. So, yeah, it's very hard to break habits, especially when you've been doing them for, like, what, 10, 15 years plus?
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. And so when I turned to fasting, the reason I did that is I went on Instagram and YouTube and I started looking up weight loss channels just to see what their progress is, right?
yeah.
And I noticed that there were people who had weight loss surgery and they were losing weight initially, like within the first few months, they would lose a lot of weight really quick.
Yeah.
But then it kind of slowed down and then almost got to the point where it was about regular speed weight loss.
Okay.
But then what I noticed is people who were doing intermittent fasting or maybe like 2 or 3 days at a time fasting, they were losing weight at a pretty regular clip. And maybe like the surgery beat them for the first couple months, but after that they were outpacing the surgeries, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I noticed is it seemed like their weight loss was more um it stabilized and it stayed, right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't as likely to backslide. I'm sure there are those who do, but it seems like there's something with fasting that makes it stick.
Now, when you say it outpaced it, like, are we talking a healthy weight loss with this? Where it's not like 5-10 pounds a day. Where because I know a couple of the nutritionists or a couple of people that I've heard talk about weight losses. You really want like 1 or 2 pounds a day. If that. Or
Yeah,
yeah.
if that. It seems to be, yes, it is healthy.
Okay.
What I've noticed, like even in myself, like if I do a 2 or 3 day fast and then I eat, I may gain back like 5 pounds in that eating, but that's mostly because of sodium, because I haven't taken up sodium
Mm-hmm.
in 2 or 3 days. So like my kidneys flush out that excess water weight, and then so it puts it back on pretty quick. But it's kind of like a stock chart. Like it goes up, it goes down, but overall the trend is going down.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you don't
So,
want your stocks to trend down, but yeah, you want
no,
the,
no, no, no.
yeah,
But
you want the weight to trend down.
you want the weight to trend down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see it. The thing I was telling somebody is I look at the scale as more like of a compass. Like
Mm-hmm.
it tells me the direction I'm going. But if I want accurate measuring yourself, your stomach, your legs, seeing that difference is more like a GPS.
Mm-hmm. So seeing the physical change is better
Yeah.
than the scale change, because yeah, I know that sometimes, like when I was really skinny, a lot of my friends would remember that, like, because I was telling you about that H. pylori issue that I had.
Mm.
Um, the number change was quite drastic enough as it was, and
Mhm.
I really started to know the physical change was a little bit more eye opening, because it was like, oh, I'm only 135, which for a 6 foot, a 6 foot individual is not that great. But I would look down and be like, oh, something's wrong here, So I definitely feel like your statement is very accurate on the fact that the scale is definitely a compass to point you, where you're headed, and then your body is more of a GPS where it's like, turn left here for what you
Exactly.
need. So, um,
Yeah.
what have been some challenges with this intermittent fasting? Like, because I know if I go a day without eating at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, let's go ahead and crack open 6X. Let's do this. Let's do that. Like I'm starving. So like, has there been any negative drawbacks that you've noticed that you really have to fight?
I would say the hardest one, it's not the food, it's the social. Like if I go out with friends or I go with family, everybody wants to eat, no
Yep.
matter where you're at, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you look like a jerk when you're like, well, I'm not eating today, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I
So,
feel that when I was dealing with the H. pylori, that was a big thing I noticed too.
yeah.
Everybody, like, my mom, she'll be like, "Hey, come on over, we can have lunch," or da 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 da. And it's like, why does everything have to revolve around food?
Hmm.
I've noticed that a lot of human interactivity for human peoples is centered around food for some odd reason. And even like when I do eat, like on my normal days, I'm maybe a one or two meal kind of guy.
Hmm.
I just don't get hungry. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Besides the social aspect, was there anything else that you found that maybe in your research people had struggled with, or just yourself?
You know, one of the things that I struggle with, especially in the beginning, is self-sabotage, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would find reasons or ways to break down, and then now I'm eating the wrong stuff, and I've just undone a week's worth of progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways I got around that is I started right. Like they always say, it's good to write down your goals,
Yeah,
but I would write them down, and then I would write down how I anticipate I'm going to feel when I achieve them,
that's a really good idea. That's a
and,
really good
and
idea.
why that matters to me. You know.
Yeah.
So now I've added an emotional component to that goal, and now it's a lot harder to like, reach for those cookies or, go out and get a pizza with friends instead of like, because you think about that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You think about
Yeah.
that. What's for someone who's setting gold for someone who's maybe starting their weight loss journey, or maybe thinking about weight loss, what are maybe like your top tips that you would give somebody, just to kind of be like, hey, this is a good idea to start, don't like setting goals for yourself. What are some tips to help out somebody who's starting or who has just started the journey?
So I've created a whole guide of lists of tips
Mm-hmm.
on fastingdice.com. They're all right there. People can absolutely get that. Those tips are more guided towards self-sabotage because that's been a big thing I've struggled with. But I would say first and foremost, talk to your medical professional. Make sure that you're ready to do this and that you're able to do this. Um, while fasting is very safe and very good, there's so many variables to consider.
Yeah.
So
Get
yeah,
the car checked out before you make the modifications.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't just go on a road trip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do if you absolutely need to, but yeah, it's nice to get that car checked before you drop the 4 to 5 thousand mile trip on it. So
Exactly. Check your oil, right?
yeah, check that oil. Check that oil.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, I really appreciate you coming on for this quick little segment here. Definitely weight loss is something that I should do. I know that when I worked at the cheese plant, I was like 250, 260, and now I'm like 210. I'm not working at the cheese plant anymore, but just that little bit of just daily grind, you can do it. I mean, I was getting paid for my grind, which is a little different. But, it's always good to do that, especially with COVID kind of coming to an end here. I know a lot of people like to get out and exercise, especially outside. Like I myself, I prefer to do it in the comfort of my own home. But, for the people that are out there, I just wanted to maybe say, hey, here's a nice little story. So, Daniel.
Yeah, and there's that CDC report, too, that, people are gaining a ton of weight from the lockdowns.
Oh, God,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you take a look at what a lot of people are doing because of the lockdown. I mean, when the lockdown started, my life didn't change. I'm a gamer at heart. I just got a better chair. Like, because my chair, I was like, oh, look, my, the kind of gaming chair I want is on sale. Yeah, I wonder why. Okay, I'll get that, so... but I know a lot of people's lifestyles went very, very sedentary. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, it had been.
Yeah, so
it's more active now.
Well, that's a huge positive. Daniel, just a couple quick things here to finish it up here, because I know it sounded like your time was a bit short. Where can people find you? Is your website behind a paywall, and just kind of anything you want to put out and throw out into the world for everybody else to hear?
Yeah, so fastingdice.com is my website. Basically, there's that free guide for everybody. I'm working on a project right now. I'm working on creating dice that would help people with fasting. So, like, you could roll these dice and get your fasting window and your eating window.
Interesting.
Yeah, something fun to change it up and have a good time while you're doing this,
It'd feel more like a game that you're trying to win, as opposed to just going,
exactly.
I'll do 3 days today. No, you roll the dice, and, oh, look, you got a D4. All right, well, I guess the game says 4 days, so.
and there is a cheat on there, because every now and then it's nice to have a treat. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, just make it fun. Why not, I'm still working on the final designs. I'll probably end up doing a crowdfunding for that. But in the meantime, there's that guide, and that's out there for everybody. So, and also the social networks are on that website too. So TikTok, YouTube, you name it, it's all there.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're widely available, and one of the things that always kind of infuriates me is when people talk about weight loss or they talk about certain things, and you log into their website and all of a sudden it's like get this guide here for $9.99, and you're hitting it up in the right direction. You're like, hey, here's a bunch of great free stuff. Let's go ahead and add a little extra to it, and that little extra is where you're making the money. So I really appreciate you doing it the correct way, Daniel.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, man. So I guess, for those of you who are listening, Daniel is going to say goodbye, and we'll jump into whatever topic I have next, or this might be the end of the podcast. I don't know, because I'm recording this, in the distant past. So, Daniel, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
Welcome my way, my way. Oh, oh. do. Obviously something about you. I noticed when you walked into the room, baby, I just don't know. I have to assume, baby, girl over there, giving me the stare. What do you got on your mind? Baby, please, don't you tease. I ain't gonna play your games no more. Won't you walk my